Listen first, not a war cry, a whistle. One arrow climbing with a bone whistle drilled through its head, screaming as it goes. Every man in the Roman line looks up, which is what it is for. The arrows that matter are already behind it. Your shield is up. The line is locked. It is perfect. It is holding. And you will die here without ever touching the man who kills you. That is Carrhae, 53 BC. 10,000 horse archers ended 40,000 Romans without closing to 100 meters, and they were the amateurs. 1,200 years later, the professional version rode into Europe, Subutai and the Mongol horde, against Rome at its absolute peak, under Trajan. Who controls the field? Because there is a camp out on that plain, with the answer sitting in it. Ditch cut square, rampart up, stakes leaning outward exactly the way the manual says. Not burned, not breached, no ladders, no ram. Nobody ever took it. Trajan is the soldier emperor who broke the one enemy that had already beaten Rome, and this is his camp. It is just empty. By the open gate, a catapult still sits on its cart, cord wound tight, aimed at nothing. The army that built this had to leave it in the morning, and out on the grass between that camp and the next one, it stopped existing. Not the fantasy version of either side. Nobody gets magic, nobody gets to be a legend, and every mile per day here comes off the page of something these armies really did. This is a model, not a memory. Two real systems. On ground they both campaigned on, clock started at the end of summer and run until it breaks one. It starts with a road. Begin with Rome, because the legion is not what the films sell. It is not a crowd of swordsmen. It is a construction company that happens to fight. Every evening on campaign, in any weather, the column stops while there is still light and builds. Ditch, rampart, palisade, gates. Roughly 25 to 30 kilometers of marching, then hours of digging, then sleep behind a wall that did not exist that morning. And they do it carrying their own war on their backs. The reconstructions argue over the exact kit, but the load lands somewhere between 25 and 40 kilos on the man, every day, all campaign. Remember the weight. It comes back. Because of what it buys. Inside its own geometry, the legion is close to unkillable. Shields lock, the line does not open. At 15 meters, the javelins go in, and then the sword arrives at arm's length. Almost everything Roman is built to work at 10 meters and closer. And the man commanding it is not a Crassus.
Trajan took the Carpathian passes. Now we prepare to advance.
A king who had already destroyed a Roman army in them and forced an emperor into a peace so humiliating that Rome was effectively paying him to stay home. Trajan came anyway, and slowly. A bridge across the Danube that stood as the longest in the world for centuries. Roads cut into cliff faces. Fortresses taken one at a time, until Decebalus opened his own throat rather than be paraded through Rome.
Rome has an answer for almost anything that comes at it.
So Rome carries the wall with it, the roads, and the most methodical siege mind of the ancient world. It has an answer for almost anything that comes at it. There is one thing it cannot answer, something that does not come at it at all. Now the other side, and the man most people have never heard of. Genghis Khan built the machine. Subutai showed what it could do, across more of the world than almost any commander who has ever lived, in campaigns run by columns that could not see each other, and arrived where he said, on the day he said.
And he is not weather, he is watching.
Give him a fortnight on this plain, and he does what he has always done.
The camps are never going to be the target.
He times how long a legion needs to build a camp. He counts the paces between one camp and the next. He learns which day the grain convoys come up the road. He sends one probe at the ditch, loses a few riders, and reads what comes back. Then he makes the decision the whole campaign turns on. The camps are not the target. The camps are never going to be the target. The target is the time between them. He can afford that decision because of the system. In this reconstruction, 60,000 riders, every man mounted, every man leading 3 to 5 spare horses. Assume something close to 250,000 animals moving with the army. That is the weapon. A horse carrying an armed man all day is finished by evening. A man who steps onto a fresh horse at noon is not. It is why the surviving estimates put a Mongol army at 95 to 120 kilometers in a day when it chooses to move, and a marching legion at 25. 4 days of Roman marching happens, for the horde, before lunch. There is one flaw in it, and it is not Roman. It is grass. 250,000 horses eat a county a week, so take the horde west and it drowns. There is no room for them in a country of vineyards. One pocket of grass exists in Europe, and Rome is standing on the lip of it, the great plain beyond the Danube. Steppe, hanging off the western end of the steppe like the last room in a house. Which is the campaign in one line. Rome moves at the speed of stone. The horde moves at the speed of grass. Now start the clock. Day 6. The legion is building the road forward, camp to camp, closing the plain a Roman mile at a time, and a vanguard column is caught in the open between two of them. You are in that column. Mid-afternoon, 30 kilos on your back, walking since first light, and the whole left horizon is dust. Then the whistle, and every man looks up, and it is Carrhae again, with better logistics.
Shields up! The column closes!
And then comes the part no drill prepares you for. Nothing. Nobody charges. They ride the length of the column at 200 meters, loosing, wheeling, coming back, and the shafts fall like weather. Your shield holds, the iron on your chest does its job. And that is worth saying plainly, because the Mongol side of this argument usually skips it. Nobody knows what a Mongol bow did, exactly. Construction varied, and the reconstructions disagree. Somewhere between 60 and 160 pounds of draw. Whether a shaft hurts you depends on the range, the angle, the head on it, the quality of the plate, and where it lands. Against good iron, at distance, most of it is an insult. But the plate is not the target. The mule 10 feet away goes down screaming with 3 shafts in its neck, and the water it carried pours into the dust. The man behind you takes one through the calf, under the shield rim. The officer's horse is dead. Nobody has come within 100 meters of you.
Take my hand, we must move now!
And your column is coming apart from the edges inward. You do not have to kill a legion. You only have to make it thirsty. And that javelin, that perfect answer to everything, flies 15 meters. At Carrhae, the Romans locked shields and waited for the arrows to run out, because arrows run out. Sirena had to send back for camels loaded with more, and it worked, and Plutarch and Dio give roughly 20,000 Romans dead and 10,000 taken east into slavery. Here is the upgrade. Sirena improvised his resupply. For the Mongols, resupply is not an improvisation. It is a department, and it was planned before anybody crossed the Danube. So the column does the one thing that works. It stops early, and it digs. By dusk, there is a ditch and a hedge of stakes, and the horde fades back into the grass, because a horse will not jump a ditch into sharpened wood, and behind that wood is the finest close-range infantry Rome has ever fielded. The first week writes its lesson in one line. Caught moving, you die. Camped, you are safe.
Trajan's response is exactly correct. Slower, more camps, more forts.
He has begun building his own coffin, and the work is beautiful. Now Subutai does the thing that has ended a long list of armies. He offers. A tumen appears on the flank, close, in range, in disorder, then breaks and runs. Riders drop weapons. A standard goes down in the grass. Everything about it is an invitation, and every instinct in an officer corps that has beaten everyone screams to take it.
Hold hard, son. Not yet.
Trajan has read this book, not the Mongol edition, the same chapter in his own language. Ventidius beat Parthian armies 3 times in 2 years by refusing to leave the high ground and by putting masked slingers where horse archers wanted to ride. Because a stone thrown downhill carries further than a bow shot uphill, and there is not much armor that makes that impact irrelevant. The answer was Roman, it was available, and the best soldier Rome ever put on a throne finds it. Do not chase. Let the ground do the work. So Trajan gives an order, and it is the best decision anyone makes in this reconstruction.
No pursuit, not one horse. Let them ride away hungry.
The bait rides off into the grass with nothing, and for 3 weeks, Rome wins. The forts go up, Syrian archers shoot from behind stakes, and prepared ground gives an archer the steadier platform, which wins the exchange more often than not. Slingers punish the ring at 200 meters, and the catapults come off the carts. One thing gets left out of this argument. People picture Roman artillery as
Keep
siege
it up
gear,
now.
parked in front of a wall and left behind when the army marches. On the column Trajan raised to advertise his own war, there they are in the stone, torsion bolt throwers on cartwheels, rolling with the field army. From
their
prepared
circle
ground,
now.
they reach further out than riders want to trade at, and they change the arithmetic of circling a Roman camp.
Again, push them back.
Say the cost plainly, because it is real. The horde is losing horses it cannot replace on this side of the river, and riders its own princes will argue about afterward.
Rome is losing mules, water, and daylight.
The horde cannot crack a standing legion cheaply. That is not a Roman fantasy. At Mohi, the Mongols beat a fortified camp and paid so much doing it that their own commanders were still fighting about the price weeks later. Trajan has found the answer.
Stand still, and you cannot be beaten.
So the plain asks him the question the whole campaign has been walking toward. How long can 60,000 men stand still? Not long, and not because anyone is foolish. An army standing still is an army drinking a river dry and eating a province flat. The grain comes up the road behind it, and that road runs through open grass. Convoys need escorting. Garrisons up the line cannot simply be left to starve. Forage runs out at a rate you can calculate. And an emperor does not hold a province by sitting inside one ditch while the countryside burns.
The political objective is the ground outside the gate.
That is the trap, and it has nothing to do with courage. Moving is dangerous. Not moving loses the campaign without a battle. And between camps there is no ditch, no rampart, no stakes. There is a column, in the open, moving at 25 kilometers a day, watched by something that moves at 100. Trajan is not being beaten in battle. He has not lost a fight. He is winning every engagement he is allowed to have. He is losing the ground between his camps. And that is not a Roman failure. It is a physics problem wearing a Roman helmet. The doctrine that keeps the legion alive is what makes it slow, and the armor that stops the arrows is the weight that empties the man. Then the cold comes down out of the mountains. The Mongols went into Hungary in winter on purpose, and this is the reason. Where the freeze holds hard, and the scouts say the ice will carry a horse, a river stops being an obstacle. It becomes a road that needs no bridge. Not every river, not every night, and not on a thaw, but often enough that Rome's moats start working for the other side. Trajan will have to move, in winter, to save his own fort line. And the man out in the grass has been waiting since summer for exactly that. He moves anyway. There is no version of this where he does not. The relief column goes out in the last week before the snow. 20,000 men, the emperor with them, marching to lift the siege of the fort line. One river between him and it. One bridge. Subutai lets him reach it. That night the horde comes at the bridge, hard and loud and from the front, and the Romans throw it back. Bolts in the dark. Riders going off the timbers into black water. It is a real attack and a real Roman win, fought by men who know their business.
Hold the line at all costs!
At Mohi, the defenders won the bridge fight too. And be careful here, because the Romans are not Hungarians and will not behave like them.
It is a real Roman win.
Subutai does not need them to. He needs the method. Fix the enemy at one crossing and put another crossing where he is not looking. At first light, the horde comes again, and this time the stones come with it. A rolling barrage walking up the bank, and behind the stones the arrows, and behind the arrows a real attempt at the timbers. Every Roman eye on the bridge, correctly. 10 kilometers downstream, in the dark, half the Mongol army has been building a crossing of its own.
Cross now. Nothing louder than the water.
By the time the sun clears the far ridge, the relief column has enemy in front of it, and enemy behind it, and one of them is holding the bridge.
Stand ready. Face about!
And the ranks obey, because that is what they are, and you turn into a plain full of riders who have already decided where you are going to die. Shields lock. The line does not open. It never opens. It does not matter. Nobody is coming to meet you. Trajan does not break, and neither does his army. The cohorts contract into a square, artillery inside it, wounded inside it, eagle inside it, and start walking backward toward the river.
They start walking backward toward the river.
It costs the horde more men in a morning than any commander here wanted to spend. Riders who come too close die. They keep coming because Subutai has ordered it, because he can afford it and Trajan cannot. The square makes 800 meters in 3 hours. It is one of the finest things an army can do. It is also an army being erased at walking pace. Then the gap opens. On the left, the ring thins, and a lane appears out toward the low ground. It looks like a mistake. It is not. At Mohi, Subutai opened one exactly like it, and an army that had run out of everything poured through it.
We must break through! Stay in formation!
And was cut down along it for miles. You see it. Everybody sees it. The veterans do not move. They know what an open door is worth from a man who has spent 40 years not making that kind of mistake. The recruits go. Of course they go, after 3 hours of walking backward under arrows. And the lane closes on them out in the grass, and the sound it makes is not battle. What is left of the square reaches the water at dusk, and the river fleet, the one thing on this plain a horse cannot follow, takes off perhaps a third of the men who marched out.
The eagle comes home.
The army does not. Pull back from the river. I want to give Rome its best case, because Rome has one. Rome is the only enemy in this story that can stand still and not die. The camps hold. Nobody storms them. Rome shoots back, and Rome has commanders who genuinely solved horse archer armies, with patience and high ground and stones. Rome has a river fleet, a road net, and one power the horde has never met across a border. A state that can lose an entire army and produce another one. And be precise about that, because the loose version of this argument is wrong. Carrhae, Carrhae, Teutoburg. Rome did not avenge all three. It never conquered Parthia. The eagles Crassus lost came back 33 years later by treaty, not by war, and the Euphrates became a line Rome agreed to. It never took Germania. The empire stopped at the Rhine and stayed there. What Rome did was rarer than revenge. It lost armies on a scale that should end a state, and kept recruiting, kept paying, kept fielding new ones, kept operating. All of that is true. None of it decides the field. 3 things do, and none of them is courage.
What Rome did was rarer than revenge.
Contact. Almost everything Roman activates at 10 meters, and on this ground the horde never has to sell 10 meters. It sets the range, and range is the statistic that pays. Tempo. 25 kilometers a day against 100 is not a difference in speed, it is a difference in who chooses. Subutai decides where the battle is, when it is, and whether it happens at all. And Roman excellence does not take that pen out of his hand. And the space between fortified positions. Rome's answer to the plain is a chain of camps. But a camp is a place, and an army is a thing.
He is not beaten because he is worse.
The horde does not fight the camps, it fights the distance. On this ground, in this model, the verdict is Subutai. The horde takes the field, and Trajan makes no mistake worth the name. He refuses the baits, he builds, he shoots back. He goes down in order, walking backward with his eagle intact. He is not beaten because he is worse. He is beaten because he brought the finest instrument ever made for winning a battle to a war about whether a battle happens. Now the limits of that verdict, because they are real. This was a model. It never happened, and a model is only as good as its ground. Put this fight in Italy and the horde starves. The army sizes are choices inside the historical ranges. Every casualty is an output rather than a record, and the bow figures are argued over by people who have spent careers on them. The gunpowder chroniclers describe at Mohi is disputed, so nothing here rests on it. And more than 1,000 years separate these systems, which is not a gap anyone closes with confidence. What is real? Carrhae, and the camels full of arrows, Ventidius on his high ground, the marching camps and the artillery on Trajan's own column, Mohi, and the bridge, and the crossing in the dark, and the lane left open on purpose, and Trajan reaching the Persian Gulf, with Mesopotamia catching fire behind him, and Hadrian handing all of it back within a year of his death. That last one is the honest edge of this. The horde wins the field. Winning the field is not winning the empire, and Rome is the one machine in the ancient world.
Rome is built to survive losing.
Which leaves the question, This battle cannot answer. Beating an army is a day's work for Subutai. But what do you do with an enemy that treats a destroyed army as a line in a ledger, and pays it, and comes back in the spring, and does that for 400 years? No bridge, no grass, just the ledger. That is the next reconstruction.